and I will let everybody in.
No.
Zoom.
Oh.
Look at those new houses. Found them muted. Check.
Where's the house? This is our dear principal. Daily Martin. Oh, where?
El gobernador de Nueva York, Cuomo, se encuentra bajo fuego luego de que dos ex colaboradores.
What?
How do I start?
No, we have not started yet. We're waiting for folks to get themselves on and also get themselves muted and just give people an opportunity, and then I will definitely go live. It's so nice to see all of your faces and to know that we're on the brink of changing a very, very long drought of joy with kids. So if you just give us a few more minutes, we'll definitely be ready.
It'll just open at some point.
So it just stays on this.
I guess.
And
So maybe just turn up the audio more.
just double checking all the screens here. Hold on. Principal Martin, when you think we have, I'm trying to be sensitive to the time of day, at 5 o'clock. Sometimes people have a little bit of hard time transitioning, but I also want to respect that people showed up on time and we have an hour to spend together. So why don't we start? And then if something gets missed, we can definitely answer questions at the end. So first and foremost, I want to welcome you back, not officially yet, but at least back to a screen where we're talking about something other than school closure, which is pretty exciting to our team, and I'm sure pretty exciting in your households as well if you're on this call. So I feel like it's been so long since I've had the opportunity to talk to parents, other than through the written medium. Thank you for showing up tonight. So we're really excited to share what our next steps are. But most importantly, we're really eager to answer your questions so you're feeling the same level of confidence that we have, that we've mitigated as many risks as we possibly can in order to safely open our schools. And so thank you for being here. Before we jump in, I just would like to give a little bit of idea of what to expect tonight in terms of format and what the evening session's about. What we would like for, if we accomplished our goals tonight, it would be giving, we know that you probably, just like us, have been bombarded with information and details, and whether it be from us or from Billy or from the county or from the state or from your spouse. But anyway, what we know is that we've all been inundated with information, and what we hope to do tonight is to try to funnel that for you so that when we roll into orientations this week and to opening school on Monday for our K-5 kids, you're feeling confident that you understand the information as succinctly as we possibly can. And then secondly, we want to make sure that you have the confidence that we have done well by your kids and by you in terms of preparing for a reopening. And then lastly, and most important, we want to save the majority of time for you to ask the questions that we may have not had the wisdom to anticipate, so that we can bolster your confidence as well. So if we can accomplish all of that in an hour, it will be an hour well spent. Hopefully earlier today, you received an email from me, which included a rewrite of our reopening plan for stage 2 for hybrid in-person learning. So if you haven't yet received that or taken a look at it, that's the plan that we submitted along with 2 other required documents to the state. One is a Cal OSHA plan, and that is like a, I don't know, 26-page document wherein we cover all the different health and safety parameters that we've put in place in order to reassure our employees and our students and families that we're prepared and ready to open as to the degree that we can be. And then there's also a COVID-19 checklist that we go through to make sure that we've covered all of our bases. The plan I sent to you is the more local plan of this is what's going on in our schools, but you have every assurance that what's in that plan is aligned with the other 2 mandates that the state has put forth. All of those, once we get the final green light this week, will be posted on our district website under district news. So you'll have access to the other plans as well. So with that in mind, I also want to say a couple thank yous right out front so we can save, the ending time for questions. There are a lot of people that have worked hard behind the scenes or front and center trying to get our schools open on the timeline that we've been working with. First and foremost, I want to thank parents and the students themselves for walking this journey with us. We know that it hasn't been easy. We know it's been a bumpy road. I have never experienced anything like this in my entire career in terms of a moving target of thinking that you've planned for something and then the plan changes and it changes again and it changes again. And you've heard me reference that a few times in my written communications. Always at the forefront, we have wanted to welcome kids back, but we have wanted to do so in a safe environment. So there's some folks that have helped to make that happen in our case compared to many districts ahead of schedule. And first and foremost, I want to thank our teaching staff and our support staff. Our teachers and staff recognize the importance of kids getting back into the school buildings. There are many districts that have worked with their labor groups and have not been able to successfully get kids back in the building in as smooth a fashion as we have. And that's a testament to the leadership of our labor groups and also to our teachers in the mountain community. We had some really good news just this past week, and that is that we're moving forward with vaccinations for at least first round vaccinations for all of our employees. And I have to tell you, that was a huge morale booster. And I know that everybody's shoulders sort of dropped a little bit and said, okay, we're on our way and we're doing this, in concert with our parents and kids. My priority as your leader throughout this whole journey has been to stick together. In other words, to try to meet the needs and interests of the parents and kids and families, and also to recognize that our teaching staff and our support staff are critical to this journey. And I'm really proud of the collaboration that we've been able to maintain throughout that's brought us to March 8th. So thank you. And I hope you'll thank them when you have the opportunity as well. For you at home, we know this hasn't been easy. We know it hasn't been an easy journey at all. As a parent myself, I understand some of the conflicts and challenges that have been out there. So we're hoping that after tonight, you'll feel the same confidence that we do, that it's time, it's time to do the best we can. I was joking with some staff today. It's like, it feels like if you were planning a wedding and planning the wedding 5 times, and you plan it, but then it doesn't happen. And then you plan it and it doesn't happen. And so we're just excited that our precious kids are coming back, and we think we've done our very best to mitigate those risks. I also want to thank my cabinet, and my cabinet would be all of our managers and administrators that have been working behind the scenes to do all that risk mitigation, whether it be Paul, and Paul is our facilities and maintenance director. Paul, do you want to wave a hand out there for folks that may not know you? He's worked tirelessly to make sure that he's anticipated as many of the risks that we possibly can. From a health and safety standpoint, along with his team. Stacy's our director of special education and student support services, which has a whole different challenge around trying to reopen. And she's been diligent in trying to be proactive in anticipating how what we're doing might need to be slightly different for kids that she serves or her team serves. And so I want to give them a big shout out. Our administrative team, both at the site level and at the district level, but Billy has, as you might have seen, the devil's in the details and the things that he's been working on to try to just make sure that operationally and instructionally we're ready to go. Billy, I want to congratulate you in front of our stakeholders that you've done a great job of trying to anticipate as much as you possibly can. Our office managers, both Julie and Raquel, and of course my administrative assistant Eileen, have also been working very hard behind the scenes in all of those details. Eileen's not on the call tonight, but she's our go-to person designee for all things quarantining, isolation, contact tracing, surveillance testing. She and I have been working very closely together to make sure that all those things are in place as well. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but the rest of our team has definitely worked hard to make things happen. So with that in mind, I guess what I would like to do is I'm going to turn this over to Billy Martin in just a minute, Principal Martin, so he can cover some of the finer details of what our plans involve. And then we can get to your individual questions. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to share with you. I'm so excited about the opportunity to share. No, I think we'll leave it at that. There's so many other things to be excited about, but right now we just want to be focused on our task at hand. I will say one thing out front, and then maybe Billy can allude to it later. We're aware of the fact that the health metrics change and can change on a dime. So everything that we're sharing, we have to put that disclaimer out there as we don't know what may happen tomorrow. For example, the adjusted case rates in our county have changed just in the past week. And if they look the same way for another week, we're aware of the fact that we may be in red tier status, which could change some of the plans that we haven't even rolled out yet, especially for our upper grade middle school students. So we're aware of that, and we'll continue to work hard. And then last but not least, in informing our plans and getting us to tonight, there are 48 people who said yes when I sent out an invitation in September to put together a school reopening task force. And 26 of those are parents, many of whom are probably on the screen tonight. I want to tell you how much that collaboration has meant to me and to our team. To be able to anticipate some of the things that are challenging about this whole school reopening process. I appreciate their candor. I appreciate the expertise that they've brought to the table. I've appreciated the spirit, sometimes anxious, sometimes not, sometimes all of that is what makes good teams good teams. And so I want to thank you. They met with me from September all the way until February. We had a revisit in February. We thought we would be, launching in January. And every step of the way, they have been committed, dedicated, and really helped to inform everything that we're presenting to you tonight. So you know who you are. I just wanted to publicly say thank you for your commitment. And that's probably enough for me. I'm going to continue to work behind the scenes to make sure that all these other things happen, most especially teacher vaccinations and so forth, so we can continue in our efforts. But with that in mind, Principal Martin, I'm going to let you take it away here and start to help people understand a little bit more of what's coming.
Thank you, Superintendent Frazier. I'm glad that you had a chance to thank the task force as well as the staff. The teachers are probably getting a little bit tired of seeing my face and my emails and everything because so much just keeps changing as we think about and process through something. And I send them a new bit of information and then something changes. And so I like that planning a wedding 5-time analogy. Before I get underway with a presentation that's going to give you just kind of an overview of all of the plans, not necessarily the specific details about every little thing, including how a child might go to the bathroom, but just more to give you the relief that you know that we've thought about it and we have a plan for everything that's coming your way. But I want to, Ms. Frazier, you said that how excited we are about having kids back, and we're really super excited about having kids back. And I know that you thank the parents for all that they've done, but I want everybody out there to know that this doesn't mean that school is returning as usual. It's not like school has been in the past, and we're not all out of the woods yet. So we realize that you still have a long way to go with us, because your kids are only coming back a couple days a week. So we're not done with the journey all the way, and we still are going to rely on your help at home with everything that you need to do to support your kids. And we appreciate everything you've done for us, as well as your children at home while we've navigated through this mess. We also want to recognize that we realize that your kids have not been on holiday for the last year. They may not have been in school buildings, but they've done school and it's just been different. So we're going to be sure that we welcome them back excitedly, and that this is a safe place for them to return to. But we do realize that we've got things to catch up on. We're not going to inundate them with everything and reminding them of that. Teachers are going to do a really fantastic job of welcoming them back to school as best that we can, the way that it used to be. So now what I have is just a presentation for you that's fairly short, like Superintendent Fraser said, that we can save most of the time for your questions to see if we've thought about everything that we need to think through. Sorry, it's not going to advance. There we go. So the first off is the why did we decide to go with a hybrid plan? Not only is it safer for us and safer for our kids, but it's also a mandate from the state. We're required that we only have 50% of our student body on campus at any one time to allow for social distancing. So all of our classes have been measured, spots have been marked, desks have been taped down, and everything has been accommodated so that we know exactly precisely how we can accommodate the social distancing in each class of 6 feet at least. The smaller groups also allow us to have less disruption. If there is some kind of outbreak or contamination in a classroom, it affects fewer people. And then the alternating days for the week. We tossed around the idea of doing back-to-back days for a cohort, or doing what we're doing with the AB model. And what we really wanted was we actually felt like doing an AA day, or a cohort 1 on Monday, cohort 1 on Tuesday, and then cohort 2 on Thursday and Friday. Teachers really felt like that was a big span of time that some kids would go without having interaction with their peers and with their teachers. So we chose the alternating model so that we didn't go so long without seeing kids. And then we worked really hard to make sure that siblings within the school and across both schools, CT and Loma, that they were cohorted together so that their hybrid days are the same. Now, having said that, I make mistakes. It's a lot of maneuvering on a worksheet. So if it comes out that I made a mistake, or we made a mistake cohorting your child, just drop us a line and we'll do our best to make sure that we get that fixed. We don't want you to have to come to campus multiple days or deliver kids on different days to help with that. And plus, we don't want your family being exposed to more than the one cohort. The schedule is where your students will be on campus 2 days a week, divided into cohort 1 and cohort 2. Those of you with middle school siblings have already experienced this for the whole school year. And cohort 1 will come to campus on Mondays and Thursdays, and cohort 2 will be Tuesdays and Fridays. Wednesday will be a mix. There'll be some live time. Teachers will be meeting with kids in the morning for a morning meeting, setting the tone for the day, and then the rest of their day will be spent in asynchronous or independent learning. And then they'll have access to office hours. And then the schedule is there. Kindergarten, all classes will start at 8:30 in the morning. And then we have staggered release times at the end of the day. 11:30 for kindergarten, 1st through 5th will be 12 o'clock, and 6th grade will be 12:30. We spent a lot of time talking about these end of the day times. For elementary school, all of the specialists will still be virtual, done through the computer via Zoom. And what we wanted to do was make sure that our K through 5 kids have time to leave campus, get home, have lunch before some of their virtual classes start up in the afternoon. We also know that some families out there, this is going to cause a little bit of tension, because you may have a kindergartner, a student in 2nd grade, and a middle schooler, and you're going to have to navigate that. I apologize in advance for that happening, but it was the best and the safest thing that we could do to make sure that we took care of as many kids as we could in this model. The Wednesdays, I already said, will be the morning meeting via Zoom with all students, and then the asynchronous remainder of the day, and students will have access to office hours. Wednesdays for middle school will remain the way that they are, just so that you're aware of that. And then the at-home days will be similar to what distance learning is currently, a combination of some live meetings with independent or asynchronous learning as well. Students, the full distance learning students, these are the students whose families have decided to keep them at home learning through Zoom for the rest of the school year because of their comfort level. Students will be assigned, in most grades, will be assigned to their cohort, to a cohort just like their peers. And then in 3 through 8, the full distance learning will be similar to the current distance learning, where there's a combination of live meetings and independent learning. K1, your students will have a full distance learning, and the students will participate in whole group activities with their in-person peers via Zoom. And the classroom teacher will provide the learning activities, but kinder and first grade students will have access to what we're calling a learning center, 8:30 to 12:30, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. That will be just a space that is manned by a teacher or humaned by a teacher who will be there to support kids in their learning. The classroom teacher will still provide the learning activities, but then there's support if the kid ever needs it. Some students, this may become a drop-in method where they come in whenever they need help, but some teachers may find that they want to assign this to students who need the support, who may not ask for it. So there'll be some flexibility in there. Second grade, for the short term, in order to accommodate the teachers as best we can for their safety and their family's safety, there is a dedicated in-person teacher for second grade, as well as a dedicated distance learning teacher. So kids will move around a little bit and they'll have a different teacher for just a little while. And that will change later to mirror the 3 through 8 model once all teachers are vaccinated to be able to come back to second grade. And then all the safety protocols. These are the things that we've spent a lot of time in the weeds discussing, talking about, sharing, asking questions, imagining what it's going to look like once a student gets dropped off in the parking lot throughout their day. So facilities, Paul and his team they've spent a significant amount of time preparing classrooms, like I said, taking the desks and measuring, and it's been quite a process to watch them end up where we are today and tape things down and plexiglass shields and everything like that. But in order to accommodate the social distancing of at least 6 feet in the classrooms, it's required a lot of maneuvering, removing stuff from classrooms so that it can make the space. Paul's also spent time improving the ventilation and making sure that we have MERV 13 filters. And then we've spent time discussing and talking about how we're going to quarantine or isolate any students who become ill while they're on campus. All of those are all in place. The plans for all that, they're all there. And then the safety protocols actually of the classrooms. Students will have a daily screening that they do with their parents at home. So parents, that will be your responsibility. Prior to your kids arriving at campus, there will be a power school activity that you'll have to do where you just verify that your child is healthy enough to come to school. And then once they arrive at campus, they will exit the car in the parking lot. They'll walk to their waiting spot outside their classroom. Before they enter the classroom, the teacher will take a temperature. If a student presents with a temperature of 99.5 or higher, there will be a second screening so that we can rule out any mistakes. And then if they do present with a temperature a second time, they'll be isolated, you'll be contacted. If it was just a misreading, they'll get a ticket to get back into class so that they're all ready to go. We'll be teaching about hand hygiene, washing and the use of hand sanitizer, teaching kids about social distancing, wearing face masks. Just know that no gaiters and bandanas will be allowed for kids. They don't protect everybody from the saliva particles that are important for us in mitigating this disease. Staff will participate in COVID surveillance testing every other week. Ms. Fraser talked about that already. We've been doing that for several weeks now. I think that we're coming up on our 3rd round of surveillance testing. So that's been also a relief in addition to the vaccinations for keeping our campus safe. We do have a positive case protocol. So if a student does present or a family member does present with a positive case of COVID, we do have plans for what gets activated in order to protect everybody, including contact tracing. We've also initiated staggered recess and snack so that kids aren't using the same space at the same time. This also includes always snacking outside. So while I'm on that, remember to dress your kids in layers when you send them to school. Classrooms will be cooler because windows and doors will be open to allow ventilation, but it can get pretty cold in the classroom sometimes as well. So help us by preparing your kids with that. We won't be allowing volunteers on campus yet. I don't know how if that'll change in the future, but for now, it's no volunteers on campus. And then students inside classrooms will use assigned seating to also aid in the contact tracing when needed. Here was just a quick snapshot of one of the classrooms that's prepared. And you can see that they look a little sparse. Things will fill up as we get student work on the walls again, that like we used to do, but right now things are pretty spaced apart so that we can keep all the kids safe. Teachers will have routes inside their classrooms that they'll share with kids for coming and going and ingress and egress and using the restroom and signing out and all that kind of stuff so that we keep everybody safe and socially distanced. When there is a case on campus, we do have a procedure for when we decide to close a classroom. And whenever we will close a classroom whenever there's one positive case in the classroom. And that means that that student actually came into the classroom, okay? And then if we decide to close a school, it will be because there are 5% of students or staff that have confirmed cases. So there's a plan for that as well. And then we'll be making safety expectations very clear to students. And really that's what the upcoming days for orientation are really designed for. So this week, when your students return to campus, things will look a little different than they will next week. But we have plans for videos and slide presentations and posters in the classroom, teaching, reminding, and encouraging the proper protocols. But this was the biggie about, we're doing things empathetically. We know that kids test boundaries. We know that they ask questions. We know that sometimes they don't understand everything that they're expected to do. So we will have empathy, and we will be kind but firm in making sure that we adhere to these protocols. And then if you out there ever have any concerns about any safety issue, or you have a question, just make sure that you bring them to me, and then I can help get them answered or the problem solved in the future. The orientation days coming up for K-5 are Thursday and Friday. And I had already alluded to the fact that it's designed to train students mostly of our safety protocols, welcome them back into a shortened day so that they can get all of this. And then when we start up next week, they'll have a pretty decent understanding and experience of what things are going to look like. They can see what drop off and pickup with fewer students will look like. So we did the staggered day so that we don't have that mass influx of kids all at one time arriving on campus at the same time. And then that'll help us flow through the process to practice and learn. And then they'll learn how to use the restroom and the protocols that they have to do for that. And then, of course, always practicing social distancing. I was expecting to talk a lot more. I'm sorry. I am. So like I said, this was just an overview, right? It wasn't in the weeds about every little thing. It was more to give you the sense that a lot of these processes have been thought about, and that there's a plan in place for how we're gonna take care of our kids once they get back. Lisa?
So I'm going to thank you, Billy, for giving us that 360 view. What I'm going to do is facilitate the question and answer period of time, and there's a couple of things that would make that a little bit easier. One would be if you use the raised hand feature on the Zoom. I and Stacy LaPava will both be monitoring hands raised. So if I call on you, go ahead and unmute yourself to ask your question, and then we'll do our best to try to get that question answered. I may, in some cases, defer a question to one of my team members, depending on what the question is. So for example, if it's related to health and safety and disinfecting and things like that, Paul Harville would be the best person to answer those kinds of questions. And if we can't answer a question, I will definitely guide you to where we can get that answer. Or if it's one that we don't have the time to be able to fully entertain tonight, rest assured we'll make a note of it and then circle back with you relative to that.
How do we raise a hand? How do we raise a hand on Zoom?
If, let's see. Billy,
I'm looking for it too. You should have a button that says reactions.
Yes, there it is.
Oh,
It's to the far right, reactions, and there is a hand raised there.
There's a thumb up or a clap on mine.
Just below that, there should be one that says raise hand. Do you
Raise
see it?
hand. It's at the very bottom.
I'm not seeing it.
It's not a symbol. It just is a large rectangular box. Underneath the check mark, the X, and the.
You mean click on reactions and then?
Yeah,
Click
click
on
on
reactions
reactions.
and then click on raise hand.
No, just the thumb up or clap.
Okay, you might have an older version of Zoom on your end.
I'll tell you
we'll-
what,
we'll-
Mr. Roy, if I see a thumbs up from you, I won't hold it against you and I will go ahead and respond. How's that?
Cool.
Okay. Did you want to start us out?
Yes, I just want to know how to access the daily symptom checklist.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Great. That's a great question, Roy. It will come to you through PowerSchool on a daily basis. So you just watch for your email notifications from PowerSchool.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Elizabeth Cunningham.
Thanks. I was just wondering if you could walk us through the orientation for this week, as in pulling into the driveway, how we drop our kids off, specifically kindergartners.
Lisa, I'll take that one. So
Thank
Elizabeth, you'll actually get some more information, some detailed information about this also in this week's Wednesday news with math and everything with highlighted. So it might be a little easier when you actually see that visual. But if you can imagine, if you pull up into the bus lane in the curve that's right in front of Loma, right by the flagpole, that's where kinder, first and second will drop off in that area. Middle school will drop off closer to the CT campus. And then third through fifth grade will drop off along the gate that's along the exit route. So again, this will make a little bit more sense, I think, whenever you see it actually in a visual that you can see on Wednesday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Jamie Castle.
Hi, yeah. I know that there were some other parents as well as myself that had questions kind of in Elizabeth's way of, can we have our kids walk across the overpass like they did last year and then they can just do their thing? Or will we only be able to do drive-by drop-offs and that's it?
No, Jamie, you'll be able to drop off on the other side of Summit Avenue and then use the bridge to come in. And once you cross the bridge, there's a gate, a school entrance at the top of the ramp, and that's where you'll enter there. So that way we're keeping, as we're trying to use as many entrances to school campus as we possibly can. Jamie, you're muted.
Still muted.
Sorry, but parents should not be walking their kids on campus at all whatsoever, even after the overpass cross off, right?
That's correct. You'll drop them if you're walking them across the overpass, you would just drop them at the top and then not enter campus, and then you can go back to your vehicle across the ramp.
Okay.
Kim Gerard.
Kim, hang on one second. Jamie, that's an important thing for kindergarten parents to hear as well, is that kindergarten parents, you won't be walking your kindergarten student to the classroom. There will be a waiting spot where the teachers will gather them for kindergarten and then walk them to their classroom, just so that you're aware of that.
And I must say before I call on Kim, I must say that I know that that's distressing. Having walked my own children to kindergarten, and I know that's probably on the minds of a lot of parents, is just what's required. And so we're going to do our very best to make that as safe and comfortable for kids as possible. Right. So let's work together on that. We abide by the safety rules, but see what we can do to help. Okay. Kim, you were next.
Yeah, this is more to curiosity than anything else. Were teachers given a choice about whether or not they were comfortable coming back, or were they told it was time to come back?
That's a great question. I worked jointly with our labor unions to make sure that was a collaborative decision coming back. Nobody wins when people are forced to come back before they're feeling comfortable or ready. That being said, it did require a lot of risk mitigation, and we did enter into an MOU with our teachers and staff so that they know that we're all working on the same page. I will say that it was challenging to make the decision to try to come back before full vaccinations.
Sure.
But as I said, we did get a little bit of good news this week where teachers have been able to at least get their first vaccination and the second one coming soon. And I know that was a big relief to all of us, including me. I care deeply about them. And so no, nobody was forced to come back. And if somebody had a challenge around coming back, we've done our best to accommodate that and figure out what makes sense for the employees. So I'm proud of our team. So thank you for asking. I know parents have been great about caring about our educators. So thank you, Kim.
Can I sneak one more question in while I still have the spotlight?
Sure.
Do you anticipate that there will be any flexibility later in the year once more of the community is vaccinated to allow some of the remote learning students an opportunity to go back to the classroom? Or is it like, no, this is definitely locked in until end of June?
Okay, that's a good question. Currently, Kim, it's locked in till June, and we had to be really forthright about that when we asked parents to make the commitment. And again, they were different environment, different metrics at the time. That's what exists right now. And the reason for that is the enormous amount of planning that was required into coming back to a hybrid. The only way I would anticipate that ever changing is if the metrics changed so much that we were in full in-person learning, but I don't think anybody's predicting that right now, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Li Fong, you were next.
Hi, we just recently moved to Los Gatos at this community. My kids, he will never go to the campus before. So in the first day, how can he find his classroom because he never been to the campus? Even I myself, I never been to a campus.
That's a great question. And that's why we're planning to do orientations for the kids this week. So Billy, do you want to elaborate on that?
I do. Welcome, Li Fong, and welcome to you and your kids. I think we've corresponded a few times via email, but there will be, you're not alone. We have students who they may have been on our campus in the past, but they don't know where their current classroom is. So we know that that's going to happen. And so we'll have lots of staff around on the orientation days to help shuttle kids to where they need to be. So just reassure them that somebody will be here to help them get them where they need to go.
How about the pickup arrangement? Is it still the same? I mean, park my car on the drive-thru and the kids will just come to my car.
Yes, ma'am, that's it. And you'll get, and again, just like the drop off, you'll get some more details about the specific spots for pickup. But at pickup, your children will be supervised by their classroom teacher, and they'll make sure that kids get into the right cars and be able to observe and keep kids 6 feet apart and everything like that. So they'll have, from the moment they get out of your car, somebody's there to make sure that they'll get to the right class, and then they'll be with somebody till the very end of the day when we see them leave with you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we look forward to getting to know you in whatever strange way that we can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yes, Christine, I see your iPhone.
Yes, I was wondering, as far as pickup, can we pick them across the bridge like we would drop off?
Yes, you can. It would help if you would just let the office staff and your teacher know that that's the route you want them to take, so that we know what to expect at the end of the day for them.
Does that include kinder as well?
Yeah, no, for kinder, you're going to want to pick them up in the drive-through lane where we can have eyes on them till they get in the car. I don't want to ask them to walk over the bridge by themselves.
Right. Sorry, I forgot that they get picked up earlier.
Right.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Lauren Gallagher.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren.
I was just wondering about the social distancing outside for the kiddos. Recently, in the news, we've heard about in the county contact sports opening up. So just wondering how we might implement allowing the children to play, at least in their cohort outside eventually.
So Lauren or Lisa, I think that this will be a two-parter. I can take one part. Students will be playing outside in their cohorts, but they'll still have to be masked and maintain 6 feet social distance currently. And then as that changes, with information from and guidance from the county health department, we'll share with you as those things change. But right now it is that they can play outside, socially distanced, and with a mask on.
I would only add, Lauren, that and maybe for the benefit of all, we want to open school with an abundance of caution. This is an opportunity, and it's one that we want to make happen for kids, but we also want to make sure we do so safely, and we want to make sure our schools stay open. And in order to do that, we would rather err on the side of an abundance of caution, and then, as parameters change, allow for those changes. And I've spent more hours than I would want you to know, staying up to date with, the county superintendents on what's the most current news, what are the guidelines, what's changed, what hasn't changed. And so I've done my very best to try to keep you informed of those changes. And so if we adjust, we'll do that well, just like we've opened well. In other words, we want kids to be well-founded in all the guidance first, and always easier to loosen the guidance later, as any first-year teacher knows. Does that help? Okay, thank you. Courtney.
Hi there. This is kind of related to Jamie's question about drop off over the bridge. As you personally know, we walk to school. And so I'm kind of curious. I understand that walking to school, I would kind of drop them off basically on the other side of the bridge. But for pickup, how would I gather them?
Especially the kinder. We have a kinder.
I have a kindergartner that can't walk across the bridge. So
we're not gonna ask kindergartners to walk across the bridge, because remember they get out at 11:30.
Yeah.
So we'll expect you to pick them up in the drive-through lane in front of the Loma flagpole. That's the easiest way to describe where that spot is right now.
I guess the question is, am I allowed to walk there if I'm not in my car?
Yes, you're allowed to walk there, but for that, we would ask you to not come onto campus. There'll be a spot where you can stop after you've come across the bridge. There'll be a spot that'll be marked so that you'll know where to stop, and then wait for your child, and we'll make sure that your child gets there to you at the bridge.
Okay, thanks.
Courtney lives right next door, Billy, just for the record.
Oh, great. Okay.
That's why she's asking about the walking piece of it, I assume. Mrs. Aka.
Yes, I have a question of Zoomers actually. So if they will be online all the time, will it be at the same time one of the cohorts will be happening like Monday, Thursday, or will they get 2 days of interaction with the teacher? Or how is that?
Yep, that's a good question. It really depends on two things. One, is the grade level, because they're each designed just a little differently in order to meet the needs of the kids and their maturity level, and then what's appropriate developmentally for them. So your teacher will give you a lot more instruction about exactly what that looks like. But kids at home who are full distance learners, there will be opportunities for them to interact and engage in their classroom, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be on Zoom from 8:30 in the morning until 12 in the afternoon. There will be times where they Zoom in to do something with their class, and then the teacher may release them to go do something else or work independently, and they'll have instructions for when to come back and when to go. So your teacher will communicate clearly with you what that plan will be for your child.
Okay.
Angela Coble.
Hi, I was just wondering about the sixth graders actually over at CT, and what the plan is for, are they going to be changing classrooms, or staying in one place? How is that working? And if there's going to be an orientation for them too.
They will be moving classrooms, Angela. And we have made sure that we have the 6 feet of social distancing in every classroom. So I did have to make some cohort changes to balance some things to get fewer numbers in one place and a few more in another, so that we can accommodate the minimum 6 foot distancing for all the middle school classrooms. The only spot where it's going to be larger than that is going to be in PE, where there might be, instead of 12 or 13 in a cohort, there might be 14 or 15. And because PE can be in a much larger space, they can still maintain the 6 feet apart or be outside. And they will move from class to class. So which means that they will come in contact with other students and teachers throughout the day, which for us is why it's really important that we maintain the 6 feet and make sure that everybody's adhering to the mask policy.
Okay, and then just a quick follow-up about that. With the grades that still aren't in yet, with the 7th and 8th graders, is there a possibility with the county changing potentially tomorrow that those kids could be back in sometime toward the end of the month, just like the 6th graders?
We're not ruling out that possibility, Angela. We just need a little bit of time to plan for that. That's new news that we weren't anticipating, and these first 2 runways are pretty intense, but we're aware of that. So I can't say either way right now, but I don't think it's an impossibility. So stay tuned on that one. We recognize that they probably would like to be back as well.
Yeah.
And then orientation wise, we did anticipate that 6th graders have not been on campus yet, and we really want them to have a middle school experience in that fashion. So we did schedule an orientation for both cohorts in 6th grade. One is on the 18th of March, and the other is on the 19th of March, with their start date of March 22nd, much like the cadence that we're doing for elementary.
Okay. Thank you.
And we'll update, Angela, I'll update middle school families about that more specifically as we get a little bit closer.
Great.
Azadeh?
Yeah, hi everyone. First of all, huge thank you to the teachers and the staff. Thank you, and everyone. We're so excited to have the kids back. I have 2 questions. One is from a parent that can't be online. They're asking, because things are fluid, things are changing, you have a model now, and as things change, for instance, the 150-mile radius rule or 10-day quarantine, will that change if, say, next week Santa Clara lifts or Santa Cruz lifts that requirement? Will the school follow suit? That's the first question. The second question you may have answered, I may have missed it. There's staggered pickups, but is there staggered drop-off?
So Billy, why don't you take the drop-off question, and then I'll do the quarantining question.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep. So today I didn't do a staggered announced drop-off. Instead, what it is I'm giving families a cushion period. So nobody will be marked late in the K-5 classrooms if they arrive before 8:50. So that 8:30 to 8:50 is this 20-minute window so that you don't feel the pressure of having to arrive when there's a great number of people. And then middle school, it's a little bit more complicated, because if you miss 20 minutes of your period 1 class, that's a significant loss of instruction. So I won't be able to be that lenient on the middle school side. But K-5, we have a window of arrival for allowance before a student is penalized with attendance.
Azadeh, with regard to your quarantine, question in the 150-mile travel advisory piece, we're obligated with all those reports and things that I turned in. We're obligated to follow the guidance of the county. So if county guidance changes, of course, we would follow whatever that guidance is. So far, even with the red tier, they have not yet shifted the 150-mile radius requirement, but I meet every single Tuesday afternoon, and oftentimes that's where we get those updates. So you have my assurance that if something changes, we'll be messaging those things back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's see. It says Ben, but I don't think it's Ben. So hi there.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Sarah. I'm Ben's mom.
Right, I figured.
I have a question that's related to the social distancing, and it sounds like that's going to be a big focus of the orientation on Friday. But I have a 1st grader, and who is generally not well practiced in social distancing, doesn't have a lot of experience with that. And I'm wondering, you know, what we can be doing at home to support that effort of teaching. And along those lines, wondering if there's going to be specific language or, you know, particular language that the school is going to be using around that. And if so, can we be informed of that so we can kind of start using that at home?
Sarah, that's a really good question. And we will be spending a lot of time for those orientation days, and then once we do return, to reinforce, teach, and then reteaching all of these safety protocols. We also understand that children are children, and what you're describing about your first grader is not anything different than a kindergartner, a second grader, or a third grader. It's hard sometimes for kids to keep in mind that they need to, or realize that they need to stay 6 feet apart, and then also to know what that 6 feet looks like, right? So teachers they've been creating lots of plans and different, not gimmicks, but different ways that they're going to do that. So including using hula hoops and wings and yardsticks and things. So they'll have a lot of visuals that will help them with that. Also know that as I stated in my presentation, we're going to do this in a very empathetic way. The masking is one of the most important mitigation strategies that we have because of the nature of this virus. So masking, we're going to be a lot tougher on and what we expect out of kids with wearing a mask while on campus. Social distancing, that's going to be a little bit, we're still going to be firm on it, but there's going to be a lot of empathy for the time that it takes for them to learn it. So what you can do at home is, I actually had a list of things, so I'm glad you brought it up right now. So the 3 things that you can help us tremendously right now at home before kids return is giving them the visual of what 6 feet looks like, so that they can see. It's much bigger than a first grader realizes that 6 feet is. So just when you have the opportunity to show them what 6 feet looks like. The second is to practice wearing a mask. Let them see you in a mask, give them opportunities to put on the mask and take off their mask appropriately. We'll teach them that at school as well, but if they have a head start on that before they return to campus, that will be great. And the third is the coughing and sneezing protocol. So we no longer cough or sneeze into our hands and cover it like we used to do. Now it's into the elbow with their mask on, and then to change their mask if they need to. So if you can help with that protocol, that procedure of coughing and sneezing into the crook of their elbow, that would be huge. And then how to wash their hands appropriately or use sanitizer. So I guess I just turned that list into 4 things instead of 3. So social distancing, hand washing or hand sanitizing, practice wearing a mask, and then the coughing and sneezing protocol.
Thank you.
Billy, may I also add to that? In terms of our student services and supports, our wellness team has also been developing some resources that we can provide to our teaching staff. And if we have any resources that are applicable for home, we'll share those with parents as well. And you guys can use some of those instructions. Things may include things like social stories. And if we need to also do targeted interventions with smaller groups of students who might be struggling with understanding those concepts, that we will continue to teach those adaptive behaviors that we're looking for. So
thank you, Stacy.
Yeah.
Anne Markart.
Hello. This probably doesn't apply right now because I have an 8th grader and a 5th grader, but I'm thinking drop off. You know, am I going to drop off the 8th grader first and then just continue through the drive to drop off the 5th grader, or is that the way it's going to be going forward?
Yes, ma'am. So that's not too early to ask that, but that's exactly what you'll do. And only because we don't want your child to get your elementary school kid to get out on the CT side and then have to walk, in narrow hallways by other people. So it's the best strategy we have for mitigating and maintaining the social distancing.
Okay.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be very different, right, Anne?
It is.
Yeah, a lot of little inconveniences that we realize that you all out there are going to have to help us with. And we're not blind to the fact that a lot of these things are inconvenient. They're just necessary for now.
Christine?
Hi, yes, I had a question about the 10-day quarantine if you go over the 150 miles. What does the education look like my brother's getting married in April, so we have anticipated travel plans. Do we just do Seesaw and Google Classroom assignments, or yeah, what does that look like?
If you're quarantining, you would shift to the same role as a Zoomer would. It's not like you're quarantining without access to your child's education. It would just be, you would be following the same protocols as a Zoomer.
Exactly. And then Christine, and what we just asked for families is just to make sure that they're really evaluating if the travel is essential. And if it's essential travel, then obviously your family has to do it. And then like Ms. Fraser said, then your child will connect as if she or he were a Zoomer and access via Zoom.
Okay.
Marianne?
Hi there. This is, I'm assuming that you're going to tell me that there's more information coming on this, but a lot of the kids, especially the newbies coming onto the campus, they've gotten really comfortable in their home setting. And so, bringing all of their stuff or what they think is really necessary back and forth. I'm just hoping that we get some sort of a consolidated list so it's easy for them to identify what it is that they really have to bring, given that they'll be going back and forth.
And Marianne, with that, it also depends on the age of your child. The younger students they'll have supplies that they will keep in the classroom that's segregated from everybody else's, so they won't be sharing supplies. Older children who can manage it may have all of their supplies that they keep in their backpack in a pencil box, and that goes back and forth with them. So it just really depends on the age of the child, and then your teacher will communicate with you what they want specifically for your kid at that grade level.
That's great. Are they going to be required to, so mine is a sixth grader, is he going to be required to be bringing the computer back and forth, or how's that? No. Okay.
No,
Sure.
but actually, you said sixth grade, Marianne?
Yes.
Yeah, no, middle school kids will be in charge of their own computer, and they'll bring that back and forth. Elementary kids will have a device at school that is managed at school and left at school. But the older kids can manage that in their backpack, and they'll just keep it in their backpack and make sure that they charge it up at night. But that was determined that it'll be what's needed to keep them safer, so that they don't have to come within 6 feet of people. We saw the picking up and the dropping off of the computers at the beginning of the day and the end of the day as bottlenecks and points that could really get our kids exposed to one another. So we just wanted to alleviate that by allowing them to carry their computer back and forth at middle school.
Okay, great. And is that similar for books? Because there's textbooks that some of them have.
Yeah, and I'll work with the middle school staff to talk about books. We don't have that plan fully fleshed out yet, but you will by the time your kids come for orientation.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Marianne, if it makes you feel any better, there's a lot of adults that are having to shift from being pretty cozy at home. So yeah, teachers aren't wearing pajamas anymore. And it's they're getting out of
I don't know. I've been going to work the whole time. So
oh my goodness. So you're not alone.
Yeah.
I'm just
teasing.
Thank you. Yeah, we all know what the comfort zone at home has been like. Those of us that have been working at home, some of us are not, but anyway, we recognize it's going to be a little bit different. Thanks for having a sense of humor about it.
Thank you.
And Marianne, we've even talked about, just that kids have been at home and teachers have been at home in their own space, and many of them gotten used to grazing whenever they're hungry. And now we're going to be on the schedule of snack, and how some of them are going to have to adjust to that. So we thought about a lot of those little things about comfort.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Leela Jones, you were next, and then Leonora, I'll get you next.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry, I don't have my video on because my internet is so crappy right now, or my camera. I'm worried. Anyway, first of all, thank you to all the teachers and administration for all your hard work in making this happen. We're super excited. Daniela, my kindergartner, is over the moon, and my other kids are chomping at the bit too. So we're excited. But I had a question, Billy, you mentioned mask wearing, and Daniela's, my kindergartner, and all my kids are comfortable wearing masks, and we have numerous masks. How many masks should we plan on them bringing with to school? Because I heard you mention switching out masks if they happen to sneeze. And will the school be providing or have extra like little kid masks available should they have some sort of sneezing fit?
So the answer is yes to all of that. So the students will come to campus wearing a mask, and then we recommend that you pack one backup mask with them, so in their supplies, and then we will have on campus and in classrooms additional masks for backup, just in case there's a sneezing fit or one falls on the ground, or who knows what could happen. They lose one from on their way from your car to their classroom, so we'll have backup plans for that.
Gotcha. And are there any, I heard you say no gaiters and no bandanas, but are there any other limitations on the masks that we should be aware of in any way, shape, or form?
Those are the only two limits, just no gaiters and no bandanas, just because they're not thick enough to trap the particles.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We're excited.
You're welcome.
Leonore?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. I guess the first one is in regards of the orientation that I think is going to happen on Thursday. Is that for parents and for kids?
That's for kids.
For kids. So you just need to drop them off?
Yep.
And when you're dropping them off, Leonore, what we're doing is practicing.
Oh, I see. Got it. And the next question, which I don't even know if you can answer it. I was curious in regards of the teachers, were they is like a volunteer for them to get the vaccine, or is that like a required by the district?
It's been voluntary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, I know that that's been a high priority for the majority of our teachers and staff. So I think they understand that, but no, that wasn't a mandate.
And then Lenore, you brought up something that reminded me about the orientation, just so that you're all aware of timing. This is not a regular school day for Thursday and Friday, so they're shortened so that it kind of lets kids get used to it. So kindergarten through second grade is 8:30 to 10, and then third through fifth grade is 10:30 to 12 on the Thursday and Friday, depending on your cohort. Cohort 1 is Thursday, and cohort 2 is Friday. And that'll all also be again in the Wednesday news so that you have it in writing.
Okay. Stephanie, why don't you, we're getting close to the end of our time here, so bring it home. Make it a good one, Stephanie.
Okay. Well, you know me, I always have good questions, tough ones sometimes. So I've got two. I'll make them quick and you might not be able to answer them now. First of all, thank you everybody for all the hard work. Really appreciate it. Lots of fields going on. I'm sure everybody shares that with me. My first question is there any plans to provide on-campus surveillance testing for students at any point? Second question is, are there plans to allow kids who are in the on their at-home days, who are in a cohort where they go in person some days and they're at home on other days, where they can live stream into the classroom on the days where they're home? Those are my two questions.
Okay. So in our planning, which as you well know, we did explore live streaming as an option and worked with our teaching staff and others. And for a variety of different reasons, which I won't take the time to go into, where the comfort level is the zooming into the classroom, which is slightly different than live streaming, and I recognize that. But that is the plan that's in place right now for those that are roomers and zoomers. So on those days when you are with your own cohort, you will be able to zoom into the classroom in certain grade levels. Billy, did you want to elaborate on that before I answer her other question?
Yeah, so Stephanie, it also sounded like what you're asking about is, if your child is in cohort 1, will they eventually be able to also zoom in on a cohort 2 day so that they have more interaction? And right now the plan is not to do that. But what they do get on their non-cohort day is they'll get some, they'll participate in their morning meetings. So they'll do whole class stuff, and they also will have access to their teacher during office hours. So there'll be some live interaction. It just won't be that full day of instruction like they get on their real cohort day.
Okay, does it look like Julian and Mr. H's class has any morning Zoom or anything on the days where Julian's home, except for Wednesdays? But
okay, that could just be a miscommunication. I'll find out.
Okay, thank you. And is there anything you can say on the surveillance testing?
Yes, we've looked at, the pros and cons of all of the of surveillance testing for students. And there are some school districts that are doing sort of an initial round of surveillance testing, right? We haven't chosen to do that yet. The logistics of setting up all of that surveillance testing based on the dividends of how that works is pretty challenging. We've put our focus on getting our teachers up and ready, and that has gone really well. And we've had really, really good results with that, but it took months just to get that in and of itself. I'm going to keep studying on what the pros and cons are of that, Stephanie, to see if it's worth the maintenance of effort to try to do that. What some districts have done is they do student surveillance testing in groups. So instead of every student every day, they'll do sort of a small, subset of that. For example, Los Gatos downtown, I know that they were doing that in small subsets of groups of kids. So it really depends on, on the, quote unquote, the science of it. Like, is that really a mitigation effort, or is that sort of a false sense of security? And so I'm still trying to figure out what would be best, but it's a question that I've asked myself as well.
If I can just put in a plug, I've been tested at the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds site, and you just make an appointment, even same day online. It's super easy, in and out in just 10 minutes, and everyone's super nice, and the swab doesn't hurt at all. So just a plug, if anybody wants to feels like doing it on their own, just to be extra cautious, I recommend that site.
Thank you. That's the type that we've been doing as well. And you're right, it is very efficient, but it did take quite a while to get it all set up, get all the appointments scheduled. And we're doing that every other week for every employee. So I will keep it in the back of my mind, Stephanie. Thank you for asking. All right. With that in mind, I'm sure this won't be the last opportunity for you to ask questions. And I think a lot of your questions will probably be answered once we actually do a test drive on Thursday and Friday with the kids. Jamie, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have one more question. In relation to if a parent does a late drop off and everyone's in their classrooms, is there a certain protocol where you can explain how the drop-off situation goes that way and how that will go about? Like, do we call first and then we drop our kid off, or will a teacher come out, or how does that work?
So Jamie, it depends on how late the arrival is. So if you arrive anytime between 8:30 and 9:15, there'll be there's going to be a health check tent set up just near the flagpole. That's where your child will go to get the screening and then the verification and then the pass to get into class to alert the teacher that they've already been checked. If it's after that, then he or she will go to the office doors, where somebody in the office will help them through that process and then get them checked to go to class. If you're going to pick up on the other side, Jamie, if you have to pick up your child early from school, for that, you'll need to contact the school office and basically make an appointment for pickup. So we'll have your child ready. You'll give us the heads up by phone or by email with the school office. Obviously, there are emergencies that happen, and if you needed to stop by school, you would just make sure that you have your mask on, report to the office doors. We won't be letting people into the office, but all the business will be handled through the office door, and they'll have everything that they need to take care of you there.
Okay, well, you've asked great questions. Hopefully we've helped to answer some of them. Again, anything you can do on the home front to help your kids with this adjustment, we want to partner with you. And then I'll probably just close by once again saying that we want to open schools and we want to keep them open. And it's really going to be a partnership of all of us abiding by the safety guidance, health and safety guidance within our families and within our extended school community if we want to make this work. So we're counting on you. We know that you're counting on us. And we're hoping this is going to be successful. If we have to quarantine, we'll have to quarantine, but it sure be nice to be the school that doesn't have any need to quarantine. So let's let's stick together, and please continue to ask questions if something comes up, and look for read through the information as it comes out this week and leading up to opening day on Monday. We're off.
And
Anything
and then just
else that you want to say, Billy?
I would, and that's just to thank you for your continued flexibility. I know it hasn't been easy, but all the information we've given you now, it's not what's set in stone. And as needs change, as information from county health departments and other health agencies give us new data, we'll react to that and inform you of any changes that come our way.
Okay, great. Thank you guys. Hang in there.
One really quick last question. For orientation, it's 8:30 to 10 this week. Is everybody coming to pick up at 10? Are you staggering pickup?
So it's 8:30 to 10 for kinder through second graders.
Okay.
And then it's 10:30 to 12 for third through fifth graders.
Okay, so it's already kind of the
Already
orientation.
staggered.
Okay.
It was designed to be staggered. Yeah.
Thanks, sorry.
All right. Okay, parents, thank you for your efforts. We're hoping we can take some of that burden off. And if you'll help us out by keeping our schools safe, we'll have a win-win. So go get them.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go Loma. Go on the hill, yeah.